Welcome back to the Hangover Sports Talk Fantasy Football Podcast Extravaganza, and I sincerely apologize if anyone took my Geno Smith advice for Monday Night Football. He's not good. He's not good. I don't know what was going on there, but we're here. Week 3 is in the books. Week 4 is almost upon us. That's the beauty of football. Monday night it ends. Thursday night it begins. So we're going to start with our studs and duds from week 4. Week 3, not week 4. My stud, Rashad, the man, which I believe is his official nickname, Jennings, single-handedly bringing me from the grave to a win in fantasy football, 23.6 points, 34 carries, 176 yards, a touchdown against the Houston Texans defense, which he was not supposed to run all over with that front line. But he was awesome. And the Giants won.
Yeah. Yep, which is pretty amazing. Victor Cruz was clicking, and Rashad Jennings was clicking. 34 carries is the number that you want there. You rarely see running backs getting 34 carries in games anymore, especially with timeshare. And he has a very able backup, the rookie Andre Williams. So for him to have a game like that is very pleasing to fantasy owners. I am also a fantasy owner of Rashad Jennings, so he had a good game.
Whoop-de-whoop. And my dud, unfortunately, was also on my team, Demaryius Thomas. He's pretty much been a dud all year, I'm not going to lie. Apparently his foot hurts. Well, my foot hurts too, and I still go out and catch plenty of touchdowns in my dreams, but that's not the point. Seattle D, I understand, tough defensive matchup, but if Emmanuel Sanders can catch 11 balls for 150 yards, I'm not going to accept 4 catches for 31 yards from Demaryius. Luckily, he got that 2-point conversion, but Demaryius on any team, if you have him, you picked him in the first or maybe the beginning of the second round. You need more production from him. I mean, his best game this year has been 5 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown. And he's played Indy, Kansas City. I mean, those aren't great pass defenses.
No.
Seattle, okay, I'll give you a little break. I can understand, especially in Seattle with the Legion of Boom. But I got to give him a dud. 7 points is not going to do it for my first-round draft choice. So, Demaryius, I'm very upset with you if you're watching this.
I, on the other hand, have his good friend on the team, Emmanuel Sanders, and he was my stud for the week. Not my highest scoring player, which was Rashad Jennings, but Emmanuel Sanders I have in both of my main leagues, and he is just a reception machine. Where Demaryius Thomas and Wes Welker now are lacking in receptions, Emmanuel Sanders picked it up with 11 receptions for 149 yards. No touchdowns yet on the season, but I like the receptions, and I like the yards, and I like the constant throwing to him. Peyton Manning clearly has a good rapport with him. So he was my stud for the week. And in a half-point PPR, he got as close to, I think it was like 18-something points, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So, Emmanuel Sanders. My dud was actually my stud from last week, and that was Darren Sproles. Bound to have off weeks. He had 20 and 20. It was like 25 yards rushing and like 18 or 19 receiving. Ended up with like 4.5 points. So, not the greatest week compared to what he had Monday night last week. So, but I'm going to look for him to bounce back. But he was my dud, unfortunately, this week. Still pulled out the win. It was a very scrappy win, but we still got the win. So, on to waiver picks. You want to get yours? You want to get mine?
I'll do mine first.
Yeah.
My waiver pick now... Actually, you do yours first.
All right. My waiver pick is actually... Where's my... Oh, shoot. Did I not put him in here?
You still had Bishop Sankey.
Damn. All right. What was the...
Eddie Royal, I think you said? Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah. All right, so I'll cut it there.
Okay.
My waiver pickup for this week is Eddie Royal. Owned in, I think it was like, when I last checked, it was like 30-something% of leagues.
Check that for you.
Can you get the exact number?
Absolutely can.
I could be thinking of something else. I was on ESPN a lot today.
14%. Nope,
14%.
3%.
Sorry, 3%. So 3%, not 30%. 3%. So owning 3% of leagues, Eddie Royal has been one of Philip Rivers' favorite target. Basically, I don't know, like taking over as like his favorite guy.
Double-digit points back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, and 2 touchdowns last week, which is like the big number. You got to look at that. On Denver, he was always like a talented player, but now with Philip Rivers, and Philip Rivers is on, picking up where he left off last year. So For 3% owned, he's got to be available in your league. Go get him. Go get Eddie Royal. Especially now that the bye weeks are starting, you want Eddie Royal on your team. Flex him, start him as a wide receiver, whatever you got to do, get him in your lineup for this week.
My pickup is also wide receiver, and now when we say pick up these wide receivers, because last year Eddie Royal had that 2 to 3 week blast off. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of people picked him up, myself included, and he stunk up the joint. Mm. So these aren't sure things. You could pick him up and he could go back and not do anything. But like Matt said, with the bye weeks coming up, you need an extra receiver here and there. My waiver wire pickup is Jordan Matthews for Philadelphia. Again, that big number, 2 touchdowns, 8 catches. Philadelphia, there are a lot of mouths to feed between McCoy, between Sproles, Macklin, Riley Cooper. But I liked what I saw from Jordan Matthews. 8 catches, 2 touchdowns. Again, he's only owned in 3.7% of ESPN leagues. So take a chance. Pick him up. You can play him in the flex. Those 8 catches, 2 touchdowns, that's a really solid day, especially in that division where you got 4 games against the Giants and Cowboys who just can't play defense for their life. So if you want to pick him up, you can plug him in here and there. That would be my waiver wire pickup for week 4, but beware, could be Eddie Royal last year. You pick him up, maybe he doesn't have a good game, but I think it's worth the risk.
There you go.
And now we're going to go to our studs for week 4. Now the thing with the studs for week 4, it's not just for fantasy football. There's also FanDuel and DraftKings, which DraftKings will accept our check in the mail for $3,000.
You think we get that much?
Yeah, well, with all the views and stuff.
Nah, yeah.
But we understand some of the people we're going to be suggesting for you for the studs you don't have on your team. But if you're playing FanDuel or DraftKings, you can go out and we're saying these guys, there's a good chance they're going to have a really good game. So for my Thursday night game, which is the New York Football Giants, on the road against the Redskins, I'm going with Kirk Cousins, who has looked excellent so far this season. The Giants can't really play defense for the life of them. And even though it is a short week and it's tough to take an offensive player who played Sunday on Thursday, but if you look at Cousins against Jacksonville, not really a good gauge, 17.3 points, but then at Philly, 31.6, 427 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Going against that Giants defense, which is horrible, at home, I really think he's the guy to play in the Thursday night game. I like Kirk Cousins a lot, emotionally, physically, and football-wise. What about you? Who do you got for Thursday?
My Thursday night game, Victor Cruz. Victor Cruz started the season very slow, but kicked into high gear last week, especially with the running game working. I see the running game going again, and I think that Eli Manning is warmed up now finally, and I think that he will get his looks, and he will get a touchdown at Redskins. I'm not really concerned too much about that. I think Victor Cruz will get his receptions and hopefully going for a score. I'd say between 80 and 100 yards in a score for Victor Cruz. Decent fantasy day.
Yeah, I think that's good. And who you got for the 1 o'clock
Yeah,
games?
for my 1 o'clock, I have Matt Stafford versus the Jets in the Meadowlands. I am very disappointed in Matt Stafford this season. Had a great first game and 2 dud weeks. Really just awful weeks. Even with Calvin Johnson eating and getting his points, Stafford had a terrible week. Throwing lots of picks. That's not like Matt Stafford. Not to have 2 back-to-back bad weeks like that. I know he tends to have games where he's off, but let's see him bounce back against the Jets at 1 o'clock on Sunday and connect with Megatron a few times.
It always helps to have Megatron.
It always helps to have Megatron.
For my 1 o'clock stud, I'm going with the combo. Antonio Gates, Ladarius Green, the tight ends for the San Diego Chargers. They haven't put it together this year. It's either been Ladarius has had a good game like he did last week, 4 catches, 64 yards, not too bad. Or Gates, his first 2 weeks, which were week 2 was a monster week when he had the 7 catches, 96 yards, and 3 touchdowns, 31 points out of your tight end. You're not going to get that every week, but that's a big game. And they're playing at home against the Jaguars, who probably couldn't guard me running a route. Maybe they could guard me running a route, but you can't guard Antonio Gates. So I think either one of those guys, you can't go wrong. Basically, you're going to notice a trend where we're going to be going against the Jaguars' defense.
Yeah.
They're not very good.
Nope. And if you look at my 4 o'clock game, like Ryan said, we're going to be picking on the Jaguars a lot. I got the guy throwing those guys the ball. That's Phillip Rivers versus the Jaguars at home. Phillip Rivers has been playing out of his mind. Now with these two beastly tight ends, now that Ladarius Green has really stepped up and he's getting the ball a lot now, and Antonio Gates still a perennial superstar. Now you got Eddie Royal. You got a lot of guys to throw to, and I think Phil Rivers will capitalize and look for him to be fired up this weekend like he always is at home.
Yeah, and I skipped over my 1 o'clock pick. I apologize. Andrew Luck leads my league in fantasy points total, more than Peyton Manning, more than Matt Ryan, more than anybody. Doesn't help, helps how he played the Jaguars last week, but still,
He plays the Jaguars again this year, 2 times.
Plays the Jaguars every game.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yes, it is nice. But yeah, I would go with Andrew Luck at the 1 o'clock. Like I said, Gates and Darius Green at the 4 o'clock.
Peter Rivers at the 4.
Yeah, Luck is at home against Tennessee. Tennessee, everyone thought they were going to be great. I'm not very impressed. And Andrew Luck in the Dome, he's almost turning into like a Drew Brees, Matt Ryan in the Dome. Like when he's home, he just, you know what I mean? He turns out, he plays great.
Yep.
And now with Ma Bradshaw just resurrecting his career, it's just another option he's got to throw the ball to.
Great waiver pickup. I'm not sure if that was the waiver pickup I made for last week. It was Ahmad Bradshaw. I'm not sure if I did that or not. I forget. I'll double check on that. But he was a good play this week.
Yeah, you probably can't pick him up on waivers anymore.
Nope.
He's had 3 straight really good weeks.
And my Sunday night game, which is the Saints in Dallas, I'm going with Jimmy Graham because why not go with Jimmy Graham against a Dallas defense who's been gouged for points and who can't put anything together on offense. They're a pretty sad team. So, I'm going with Graham.
I'm going to go with Graham's wide receiver mate, Brandon Cooks. Like what I see from the rookie. I mean, his 2 big games have been in the Dome. First game of the season at Atlanta, where he had 7 catches, 77 yards, and a touchdown. And then last week at home against Minnesota, 8 catches to 74 yards. But you're playing, like Matt said, at Dallas against the Cowboys. Gave up 31 points to Austin Davis and the Rams last week. And when Drew Brees comes to town, I mean, the only thing, again, a lot of mouths to feed in New Orleans. But I like my chances with Brandon Cooks, and I'm going with him. Also, you can't go wrong with Des Bryant, but I don't think we need to tell you that. And then for the Monday night game, which is the Patriots at the Chiefs, my pick for the stud of that game is going to be Julian, a.k.a. Julius Edelman. And really because there was a stat I saw the other day, Edelman's caught like 70% of Brady's passes this year. Gronk clearly isn't 100%. So with him on the field, basically just taking up space, I mean, he'll catch a touchdown and a couple balls here and there. I'm going Edelman. So far this year, he's got 22 catches in 3 games, only 1 touchdown, but, I mean, he's the number 1 for Brady. And, if Ridley and Vereen can't get it going on the ground, he's the guy you go to, especially in a PPR league. So my stud is Edelman for the Monday night game.
It's a good pick. I'm on the same side of the ball, and that's with Tom Brady throwing Edelman the ball. I think that Tom Brady's had a terrible start to the season for Tom Brady numbers, and I think that he'll bounce back on Monday night, and I think that he will destroy the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I think that he's going to tear them apart, and I think that Gronk, this is going to be the game when you see Gronk get over 50% of the snaps back in. He's been hovering around like 30, 40% of the snaps. This is where you're going to see him get in there for at least 50% of the thing. I saw him blocking last week, which is a good sign. That means they're fairly confident, and he's fairly confident in his injury that it's all better. So that's great. So those are our picks for the week. And remember to our Twitter handles right above us this entire episode. Tweet at us if you have any questions, if you have lineup questions. We'll give you advice. Sometimes we'll give you 2 different kinds of advice, but we're still going to give you advice.
Exactly.
And, if you need someone a tiebreaker you have in your head between 2 guys, we can be that tiebreaker for you. So, until next week, same time, same place, youtube.com/theaverage-nobodies. I'm Matt.
I'm Ryan.
And you stay fantasy fantastical.
Remember, you start your starters, bench your bench players, and you can't lose except when you lose.